Welcome students. So in the last class we were discussing about the shapes of the molecules which is formed due to VSEPR theory. Okay. So continuing that only, and here we are going to discuss about the next, that is our next structure, that is the octahedral structure. Octahedral structure. So what is the octahedral structure? For taking an example, A is the central atom and 4B are attached to this A in a single plane forming a square, and 1B is bonded to this A above this plane and 1B is bonded to this A below this particular plane, forming perpendicular angle. Okay, here this particular angle with A is 90 degree, while the angle between the different squared B also, they are also 90 degree only. Okay, so here this structure is formed and it is termed as octahedral structure. Some examples are SF6, TEF6. Okay, these are the examples of this compound. Here we will see that different structures can be formed out here. Okay, different kind of things can be seen out here. Here we will see that the three bond pair means the compounds formations can be AB6, AB5, L, where L denotes the lone pair there, AB4, L2, AB3, L3. Okay, these are some of the examples of the compounds which can be found out here, where we will see that three lone pairs with three atoms. Okay, so the structure for that particular compound will be A, three lone pairs. Okay, one lone pair, second lone pair, and the third lone pair with three of the compounds. Okay, three of the atoms there. Okay, so it will be like this: one, two, one second. The structure will be something like this. And maybe it also three lone. First, let's arrange the three B here. So one B, two B, and this is the three B. And the three lone pairs there it will be like this. And they will be forming what? They will be forming a one B here and one like this. Okay, so this is the structure for three lone pairs and three bonded B atoms with the central atom A. Okay, so these are some of the examples for the different kinds of shapes which has been formed by different due to the VSEPR theory. Okay, next, the next shape which we are going to see here is the pentagonal bipyramidal. Pentagonal bipyramidal. So for pentagonal bipyramidal, the central atom will attach to five different atoms forming a in a pentagonal plane. Okay, in a pentagonal plane like this, and two atoms will be attached to it above and below forming 90 degree angle. Okay, so here the angle between the two bond pairs of B will be 72 degree, while the above and below B atoms which are attached to central atom, it will be having angle of 90 degree. The example can be here IF7. Okay, it can be IF7. Now, how the shape of this particular compounds can be changed, how we can change and how we can see that they are having different shapes there. Okay, so for example, if I am taking example for the bent for the example of SO2. So the SO2 molecule is having the structure, it must be having the structure like this, na? But due to presence of lone pair, okay, due to presence of lone pair with the sulfur here, what will happen? We will see that the structure of this particular sulfur dioxide will change out here, and it will not be linear here. It will become something like this due to the presence of lone pair here, and this particular lone pair will repel the bond pairs of oxygen, and hence the structure of this particular compound will form to be V shape or bent shape. Next is the molecules which are having 4 electron pairs, okay, which are having 4 electron pairs. So in the 4 electron pairs, the first is the pyramidal structure. Pyramidal structure. Okay, for pyramidal structure, NH3 is a very good example where 3 hydrogen atoms are compounded with central atom nitrogen, which is possessing a lone pair. So here the structure becomes pyramidal, and the angle between this hydrogen, the angle between this bonded hydrogen with nitrogen is only 107. Similarly, for water also the shape is bent or angular. Okay, it is also bent or angular for water. Okay, bent or angular. But the bent or angular structure here it is different. Here we will see that the lone pairs of oxygen, that is 2 in number, they will be possessed by oxygen like this. And due to this reason, the hydrogen bonded with oxygen, they will bend like this. And the angle between them will become 104.5 degree. Okay. So this is the structure for your bend structure for your water. Okay. This is water. This is the pyramidal structure for ammonia. Moving further, we will see the bipyramidal structure for SF4. Okay, SF4. So SF4's bipyramidal structure will be one lone pair of sulfur with fluorine in a triangular plane with this lone pair, and one fluorine above and one fluorine below attached to the central atom sulfur. Okay, so this is forming a bipyramidal structure here. It is also termed as distorted tetrahedron or folded square. Okay, it is also termed as distorted tetrahedron or folded square. Next is the shape for the compound, that is ClF3. Okay, it is also having same like structure, but the shape here that is called T shape. Okay, it is termed as T shape where Cl possess two lone pairs like this, one lone pair and one lone pair, and one fluorine is below and one fluorine is above here with a single fluorine atom attached to the chlorine atom here like this. So here it is also forming a trigonal bipyramidal only, but here we can see that a T is been formed due to this particular compound of compounding of fluorine with the chlorine. So hence this particular trigonal pyramidal structure is termed as bipyramidal structure is termed as T shape. Okay, it is been termed as T shape. Next is the molecules containing 6 electron pairs. Okay, molecules containing the 6 electron pairs. So the general formula. Okay, one more thing I want to let you know here is that the pyramidal structure. Okay, the pyramidal structures, they are having generally the structures which are having 4 electron pairs. They can be have the formula of AB4, AB3 with one lone pair, and AB2L2 with two lone pairs. Next is the compounds formed by formed by 5 electron pairs. Okay, 5 electron pairs. If the compounds are forming by 5 electron pairs, they can have the formula of AB3, AB4, one lone pair, AB2L2. Okay, with three lone pairs, with two lone pairs, and Ab2L3 with three lone pairs. Now moving further and see the next type of structure, that is Ab2L3. For Ab2L3, that is xenon difluoride. So here xenon is possessing three lone pairs which have repelled themselves to form a planar triangular structure like this, and one fluorine atom above and one fluorine atom below, okay, making a 90-degree angle with the xenon here. And this type of structure is been termed as linear geometry. Okay, so here the molecule is having linear geometry only. Okay, but due to presence of lone pair, they have been vertically shifted to the above and below structure. Ab2L3 is the structure. Next is the molecules having six electron pairs. Okay, for six electron pairs, they can either form AB6, AB5 with one lone pair, or AB4 with two lone pairs. This is the general formula which can be, general molecular formula which can be formed out there. So for AB5L, okay, AB5L, the structure will be something like this. For boron with five fluorides, BrF5. Okay, so for bromine with five fluorines here, it will be like this: one, two, three, four fluorines present in the same square with the plane, on the same plane with the square, and one lone pair of bromine is present at the below like this. Okay, similarly, the next is the two lone pair. Okay, Ab4L2, that is xenon tetrafluoride, Xc with two lone pair, one lone pair at above, one lone pair at below, and four fluorines will be connected to central atom of xenon by forming a square here like this. Okay, so these are the different structures which can be formed due to the repulsion between the lone pair and the bond pairs. Okay, now after seeing the shape and all these things for the molecules of the shape of the molecules and the different kinds of structures which are formed due to VSEPR theory, okay, according to which the shape of the molecules has been discussed out here. Let's discuss about the limitations of the VSEPR theory. So the VSEPR theory is failing to, okay, this particular theory is failing to explain isoelectronic species, that is elements having the same number of electrons. This particular theory, it cannot explain the isoelectronic species which are having the same number of electrons there. The species may vary in shape despite having the same number of electrons there. The VSEPR theory does not shed any light on the compounds of transition metals also. It is failed to explain the compounds of transition metals also. The structure of the several such compounds cannot be correctly described by this theory. Okay, the structure of many of the transition metal compounds or the isoelectronic species or the electrons have, or the species having same number of electrons, all these things is undiscussed or unexplained in this particular VSEPR theory. This is because the VSEPR theory does not take into account the associated site of the substituent groups with the lone pairs and that are inactive. Okay, the lone pairs which are inactive, it has also not been discussed here. Another limitation of VSEPR theory is that it predicts that halides of group 2 elements will have a linear structure, whereas their actual structure is bent one. So why they are having bent one? This is also not explained out there. So these are some of the drawbacks of the VSEPR theory. And due to these drawbacks, the need of new theory which can explain the following questions is required out there. Okay, so the next theory which is been proposed out there, or which is been there to explain some of the limitations here for the VSEPR is termed as valence bond theory. Okay, it has been termed as valence bond theory. The valence bond approach, it is generally valence bond approach, and in this valence bond approach two different theories are present. One is the valence bond theory and the other one is the molecular orbital theory, VBT and MOT. Okay, these two theories we are going to discuss further in this particular chapter. So let's first discuss about the valence bond theory. So this particular theory was provided to us by Hitler and London in the year 1927. And further, this theory was proposed by Hitler and London in 1927. But there were some of the unexplained points which were lying out there. So further, it was developed by Pauling and Slater. Okay, Pauling and Slater. Okay, Pauling and Slater has further developed it and proposed a developed theory in 1931. So, what are some of the basic assumptions for the valence bond theory? Let's see out the basic assumptions for the valence bond theory. So, first, the bond is formed due to interaction of only the valence electrons. Okay, of the interaction between only the valence electrons here. As the two atoms comes close to each other, the inner electrons does not participate. The inner electrons does not participate in the bond formation. This is the first assumption, that the inner elements, the inner electrons of the elements does not participate in the bond formation. Only the outermost shell electrons has the interaction with the other atoms valence electrons to form the bond there. Next, the bond is formed due to interaction of valence electron. Okay, due to interaction of valence electron, and for each bonded electron, the atom lose their identity. Okay, the lose their identity, while the other electrons remains unaffected. They remain unaffected there. The stability of bond is the stability of bond is accounted by the fact that the formation of bond is accompanied by the release of energy. Okay, it is accompanied by release of energy. So the larger the energy is released, the larger the energy is released, the higher stability of the bond will be present there. The higher stable bond will be. Now let's discuss the valence bond treatment for the H2 molecule. Okay, let's discuss this particular valence bond treatment for the H2 molecule. So consider two hydrogen atoms A and B. Considering two hydrogen atoms, that is A and B, and they both are approaching each other having the nucleus. Okay, they both are approaching each other, approaching each other having nuclei, having nuclei HA and HB. They are having the nuclei HA and HB with corresponding electrons, corresponding electrons EA and EB. Okay. So when the two atoms are at a large distance from each other, no interaction between the two atoms takes place. We will see that when both the atoms are very far away from each other, then no attraction between them will be seen out there. And the total energy of the system is the and at this stage the total energy of the system is the sum of the energy of the individual atoms only. Okay, if they are at large distance, if they are at very large distance from each other, then the total energy of the system, is sum of energies, of individual atoms. Okay, and when these two atoms come close, okay, when these two atoms, that is A and B, come close, new attraction force, okay, a new attraction force will start to prepare there. Okay, a new attraction force will start to prepare there, and new repulsive force also will start to engage there. Beside the attraction force of nucleus of one atom to other, there will be some of the repulsive force between the electrons there also. Okay, so what is this attractive force? Let's talk about this attractive force and discuss some significance of this attractive force. So attractive force will act between the attractive force will act between act between electrons of atom A, that is EA, and nucleus of B, that is HB, due to presence of opposite charge here. Okay, due to presence of opposite charge between the nucleus of B and electrons of A, they will possess a attractive force there. Similarly, the electron of B, that is EB, will possess an attractive force with that of the nucleus of A due to presence of opposite charge with them. Okay, and the repulsive force here, the repulsive force, it will be between the nucleus of both the atoms and the electrons of both the atoms. As they are having same charge, like charge, they will repel each other. So thus the force operating the molecules here are attractive force between the electron and nucleus of the atom A and B, and the repulsive force here is the repulsive force between the electrons and the repulsive force between the nucleus. Now, the attractive force tends to bring that atoms closer, while the repulsive force brings to push them apart from each other. So, experimentally, it is observed that the magnitude of the attractive force is very, very high here as comparison to that of the magnetic force of the magnitude of the repulsive force. And as a result, the two atoms will approach each other. And as a result, the two atoms will approach each other and they will form, okay, and the potential energy of the system will start to decrease there. This situation is represented by this particular diagram which I am forming here. Positive charge nucleus, atom B with positive charge nucleus. Let me construct this again. Atom A of hydrogen, atom B of hydrogen, okay, when no interaction is there. But when interaction started, okay, when interaction started, we will see that they will start to move towards each other, and a time will come when they will bond with each other. They will bond with each other here like this. So here the potential energy, okay, the potential energy, if I am talking about the potential energy here, the potential energy here, it will be behaving like this. The potential energy, I am denoting it in the y-axis, potential energy, and the internuclear distance is been denoted at the x-axis. So as the repulsion force between the two atoms is decreasing out, we will see that the internuclear distance will also decrease, and it will arise there, okay, it will arise there, and it will start to become constant with that of the potential energy, okay, the initial potential energy for the interaction between two attractive force, okay, attractive force, when it will become equal to that of the attractive force, it will start to move constantly with that of the attractive force there, okay. So here this particular energy difference, okay, this particular energy difference, it is for the formation of bond only, okay, it is the combination of bond, and this particular formation is for the breaking of bond here. So this is the difference between the energy here, and this particular energy difference is termed as bond energy, okay, it is only termed as bond energy, the energy required to form the bond between the two substances. Now according to this theory, the overlapping of bond is been discussed out here, okay. After this particular theory, the overlapping of atoms to form a covalent bond has been arised, okay, to form a covalent bond has been arised, and according to this, two different kinds of bonds have been proposed. Two different kinds of bonds have been proposed. One is the sigma bond, and the next one is the pi bond. Sigma bond, and the next one is the pi bond. So we will discuss the sigma bond and pi bond in the next class, and also we will see how they are overlapping, the atoms are overlapping with each other to form this sigma bond and pi. Also, we are going to discuss about the hybridization also, which has been discussed by using the different theories related to the valence bond theory. Okay. So thank you for this particular session. We will meet in the next session.